If your jaw fell somewhere in another dimension after watching Dawn Arrives, the new Wuthering Waves story cinematic, don't worry, you're not the only one. This isn't just another side story cinematic or character vignette, not just any visual fluff before 2.4. This is possibly the most symbolically overloaded, lore stuffed, future foreshadowing, emotionally devastating short Kuro has ever cooked. And we need to talk about it because what we got here isn't just another Cartethyia moment. It isn't just the rise of Fleurdelys. It's a recontextualization of everything: the Threnodian, the abyss, the concept of fear and sacrifice, the intertwining of myth and memory. And it raises one hell of a question. Is this the past repeating itself or the future being reforged in real time? Cartethyia, once again, steals the spotlight, but this time, she doesn't just stand in it, she ascends through it. Her transformation isn't merely magical, it's transcendent. This cinematic doesn't just borrow from tradition, it weaponizes it. We're talking a swirling convergence of Christian martyrdom, literary sacrifice, and the regal weight of French heraldry all collapsing into a single devastating image. The crown of thorns doesn't just suggest sacrifice, it frames her as a sanctified sufferer, nailed to fate. The Virgin Mary allusions aren't just visual, they're woven into her composure, her grace, her refusal to fight hate with hate. And then there's Fleurdelys, gleaming not as a symbol of royalty but as a paradox, denoting both the divine right to rule and the suffocating duty to endure. In this moment, Cartethyia becomes more than a character. She becomes a vessel of archetypes, a myth reborn in thorn and flames. She's literally and metaphorically bound, thorns pulling her back, voices tempting her off the righteous path. And yet, she steps forward, uses the same power that once brought ruin to now shield and save. And yes, those sound effects, let's talk about the squelching. Because if there was ever a sound that encapsulated the horror of divine burden, it's that crunch of flesh binding to fate. This is visual poetry. It's mythos building. It's the stuff that makes you rethink whether Rover is even the main protagonist anymore. Because honestly, Cartethyia is moving like the mythical knight of Renascita and Wuthering Waves itself. And that final sequence, the obliteration, the way she obliterates the abyss with the very force it once wielded against her. That's not just redemption. That's evolution. It's legacy. It tells us the Threnodian isn't gone. It lives in her, not as a curse but as a choice. And now she's choosing to burn through fate like a goddamn solar flare. And yes, goddamn Kuro! Tragically, at the very end, Fleurdelys stands alone. Her outstretched hand met not with gratitude but with scorn. The very people she shielded from ruin now recoil from her as if her sacrifice were a stain rather than salvation. It's a bitter paradox that the purest act of love is repaid not in reverence but in rejection. Her love, fierce and unwavering, becomes its own affliction, not because it failed, but because it demanded nothing in return. Now, let's just acknowledge the elephant in the room. This cinematic is absolutely setting the tone for 2.4. Its peak. If what we saw here is even 10% of what's coming, I need to brace myself emotionally, spiritually, and possibly financially. Yes, this is peak cinema by wuwa standards. From the haunting original score to the suffocating thorny vines that coil around her like divine punishment, Everything in Dawn Arrives screams operatic tragedy. Blood pours, not drips, pours from her limbs in crimson arcs that feel almost ritualistic. She's less a heroine and more a living icon, channeling the martyrdom of Jesus Christ himself with every labored step towards salvation. Her sacrifice isn't just noble, it's cosmic, a defiant offering to a world that not only rejected her but feared her. But here's the biggest question of all. Are we witnessing a return to form? A resurrection not just of Cartethyia but of Wuthering Waves' darker roots? Because this cinematic doesn't just dip into dystopia, it dives in head first. Remember the beta? The brooding tone, the oppressive tension, the sense that every choice might lead to ruin. This is that. Reborn. We began 2.0 on a note of cautious optimism, but now, Kuro's pulling us back into the abyss. And let's be honest, some players are thrilled by that shift. The dreamers had their dawn. Now, the reckoners will get their dusk. So, what now? We wait, we theorize, we question. Was that Cartethia's origin? Fleurdelys' rebirth? Are we looking at a cyclical myth that will repeat with every era? What does this mean for Rover, for Renascita, for us as players? And yes, we shall summon glory, and in glory shall we summon. Kuro just planted a massive thorn-covered flag in the lore of Wuthering Waves, and we're only starting to see how deep those roots go. This is storytelling ambition at its finest, and I, for one, am here for the resurrection arc, the rebirth symbolism, and the blood-slick crown of narrative glory. Good job, Kuro. Good job. If you're as hyped as I am for 2.4 after watching Dawn Arrives, then do me a favor. Smash that like button, drop a comment with your wildest theories, and make sure to subscribe so you won't miss my future videos about 2.4. Resonator reviews, events, and whatnot. Stay true on the righteous path for glory, for Cartethyia, for the thrill of lucky pulls, and for the chaos of the ever-shifting meta. And if Dawn Arises made you cry, don't worry, you're not the only one. Thank you so much for watching. Maraming salamat po, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.